Hello. Today we're going to be making an espresso martini, arguably one of my favorite cocktails ever created. The guy who created it, his name was Dick Bradsell, and the reason he said he created it was he needed a drink to wake him up and then him up.
It sorta kinda sounded like Dick had that dog in him, but here's what you need to get started. You actually only need 4 ingredients: espresso, a simple syrup, coffee liqueur, and some vodka. Let's start by making the simple syrup. In a pot, we'll add 1 cup of granulated white sugar and 1 cup of water. Then just whisk it until it comes to a boil and all the sugar has melted. This will make about 12 servings, and it's great for all sorts of cocktails and coffees if you want to add a little bit of sweetness. Just keep it in a mason jar or a syrup container in your fridge and it'll stay good for like 2 weeks. At this point, you might be wondering, who is this? This is Calvin. He's my barista bulldog and he'll be hanging out at the top left of the screen to give you guys recipes and tips.
You're gonna get the best results in your espresso martini by using fresh espresso, more specifically with coffee beans that were roasted within the last 2 to 3 weeks. In the roasting process, there's carbon dioxide that's locked inside of the coffee beans, and that carbon dioxide releases when the coffee beans are brewed. That's this golden brown crema stuff that you see on the top of the espresso shot.
Now we can make the espresso for the espresso martini, so I'm gonna walk you through my entire process. For this espresso martini recipe, we're gonna need a double shot of espresso, so I'm gonna weigh out exactly 18 grams of beans because in the coffee world, this is the standard for 2 shots. If you were wondering why I keep the coffee beans in this super fancy, airtight, vacuum-sealed container, it's because coffee beans are a lot like potato chips. If you leave a bag of potato chips open long enough, they're gonna become stale, and the same thing happens with coffee beans. So by keeping the beans in a container like this, you're able to increase the duration of time that the beans stay fresh. After we weigh out 18 grams, I'll close my container and then grab a spray bottle that contains water. Spritzing your coffee beans with water does 2 things. It helps reduce retention when the coffee beans go through the grinder, and it actually helps promote more extraction out of your coffee beans. The concept of spraying your coffee beans with water to reduce retention when the beans go through the grinder has been around for a long time, but there's been new studies showing that it actually helps increase extraction out of your coffee beans. I'll list a few videos down below if you want to learn more about that and how that works. I'm very much a clean as I go kind of guy, so as the coffee beans are grinding, I'm going to clean up my work area. I'm going to put away my dosing cup and wipe down the counters, grab my portafilter, make sure that's dry and cleaned out, of course. I have 3 towels on my bar. The middle bar is going to be to dry off the portafilter and other espresso tools. The right towel is going to be for the milk frother, and then the left towel is for like my hands and the countertops. This is a portafilter scrub brush, and it's nice to ensure that there's no coffee grounds sitting in those small holes at the bottom of the portafilter. And then I just like to make sure that all of the coffee grounds get pushed down into the grinder and that all of them get ground out. That clicking noise is a function of the grinder that kind of pushes all the coffee grounds out of that chute to ensure that nothing's stuck. Now we can do a McTwist and put those coffee grounds straight into our portafilter. I like to use a dosing funnel before I use the WDT tool to make sure that the coffee grounds don't get everywhere. That dosing funnel kind of keeps things inside of the portafilter. The WDT tool does a good job at breaking up bigger clumps and distributing the coffee grounds in the bed. And then I like to give them just like 1 or 2 taps, and then I'll grab my tamper, and this will flatten the coffee grounds into the form of that puck. A lot of people ask me what kind of tamper this is, and I think it's technically considered a button tamper because you just press the button and it tamps the grounds. And finally, we'll throw on a puck screen to help with water distribution and to help keep the espresso machine clean. Like I said before, I'm a clean as I go kind of guy, so I use a brush to brush off any remaining coffee grounds that are on that outside rim so they don't get stuck in my espresso machine. Then we're gonna grab our espresso glass, and I couldn't decide here if I wanted to use the amber espresso glass, and then I thought, well, you wouldn't even be able to see the juicy crema if I used the amber, but I like the amber color. I ended up deciding to use the clear color so you could see the crema as the shot was flowing out. For this espresso, I put 18 grams of coffee in, and I'm looking to get 50 grams of coffee out, which is close to a 1-to-3 ratio. Generally, for like lattes, cappuccinos, cortados, I like to keep that ratio closer to a 1-to-2 ratio, but for the espresso martinis, I find that a 1-to-3-ish ratio tastes a lot better. If you look closely at the espresso as it comes out, you can see how rich and golden brown that color is, and that's because these beans are extremely fresh and there's more carbon dioxide attaching to some of those oils inside of the espresso. Now it's the time that everybody's been waiting for. Let's assemble the final drink. I think serving an espresso martini in a chilled glass is like mandatory story, so if you forgot to chill it like me, just add some water and some ice to your glass and it'll instantly chill it. I know there's gonna be some bartenders watching this rolling their eyes, but I'm a coffee guy, so I'm gonna use a scale. Start by adding 1 ounce of the simple syrup you just made, an ounce of your coffee liqueur, 2 ounces of your espresso, which is just about the whole thing, and then 2 ounces of your vodka. If you want the fluffiest layer of foam on your espresso martini, you have to do a dry shake without any ice. Be very careful here because if you shake espresso that's hot too hard, it'll explode. After the dry shake, add your ice and then shake it aggressively. This one you want to shake it really, really hard. After you're done shaking it, all that's left to do is strain it out over your cocktail glass and just admire that pillowy, luscious layer of foam. If you stopped right here, we're all gonna make fun of you. You have to add 3 coffee beans on top, 1 for health, 1 for wealth, and 1 for happiness.
I don't drink very much, but that is very, very good.